let it fully start up. Normally takes about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see what's up. Gonna keep refreshing until I see it.
Well, I'm good on this end.
Refresh this. Cool beans. Yep, I'm up, and you're up.
Yes,
Oh
yeah.
Lord, I welcome everybody. This is the best one of the Unnaturals. Here as always with me is
The worst one, of course, at your service.
yeah. I thank you. Oh,
100%. Yeah,
oh my
this
god.
was a huge turnaround. I was not expecting to get that emergency multiple text and phone call from the best one here. I thought something was wrong. Someone died.
Uh, I almost died seeing
Oh,
what I saw. Like, yeah, the pure amount of shock and awe that I felt. But let me switch to the just chatting scene.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. I was like, why isn't this showing up? Okay. Um, I don't even know like how to continue. Uh, yeah. I guess if you want, we can just kind of continue where we left off with our story because clearly a lot of people like that, and I, yeah, I,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, before we get started at where we left off, which I
Uh huh.
don't remember where we left off at completely, but I do want to just say thank you to everyone that liked and subscribed, that viewed our videos, and that got us up to where we are. We went from 107, what was it, 172
That was a lot.
subscribers
It was a lot.
to 880 subscribers today. It climbed all day. It was amazing to watch, and uh, yeah, we can't thank everyone enough. That it really from the bottom of our heart, we are so appreciative of people's support, and I understand that, like, my thought process going into this was like, we're so green when it comes to this. Like, I like my audio was not the greatest.
Still
You
not the
know,
greatest.
you know what? Here I'm trying to be heartfelt when you were just breaking me down. No, Uh, it's just, yeah, I knew that, like, it was gonna be a rough start, but just to see everyone's support, it really is something special. It's like, I just, yeah, it's almost I'm lost for words. I'm trying to find, like words that will express the true gratitude and thankfulness that I have, that we have, and it really is something. Like, I didn't think we would climb more than like 400 subscribers, if I was being honest, until we really started getting some traction. But I don't know, I guess people like us for some reason.
Or maybe we got lucky. I don't know. But
I'll take it. My
yeah.
grandfather always said it's better to be lucky than good.
I sure. But to help you remember where we left off from with your
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
Here's a
yeah,
story.
yeah, and if
We
anyone wants to jump into the chat with us, like, feel free to jump in the chat. We'll answer any questions that, anyone has that, winds up joining us. But
so
yes, continue,
okay.
continue, the better one. I call you the better one because just calling you the best one implies that there's you hit that's the ceiling. There's nothing after that one, and I refuse to say that there's a limit.
Yeah, cool. So anyway, um, basically, where we left off, I believe we had talked about how your character fell into essentially like a depression after realizing the machinations behind your brother's death. It was actually you that caused your
Oh
brother's
yes,
death, and
yes.
then the plane shift happened with the hags,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
you landed in the Shadowfell, unlike everyone else, and then that's where we stopped it right before we met a pretty
Oh yeah.
prominent character.
Oh yeah, you mean the when you rolled a D6 and everyone rolled a D6 and everyone got to go to their home plane except for me. I went to essentially the I went to the Shadowfell.
I just want to point out, technically everyone's home plane is the Shadowfell. It is the
I
plane
just
of
want to
death.
I just want to point out that, our barbarian went to the elemental plane of chaos where he's from. Our two Fey wanderers went back to the Fey. What was the other one? The other one went to the astral sea to encounter their god, the embodiment of the light of the universe.
Hmm.
And you know where yours truly went? The Shadowfell.
I mean, could have gone worse. Could have gone to a level of
It,
hell or the abyss.
yeah, that's true. That is
Um,
very true.
but yeah, I'll kind of set the scene because the way I've described the Shadowfell, it was kind of like a mirrored reality, just more decay and death, essentially. Like there wasn't any vegetation or life.
Yeah, the way that I took it as you described it was like, has anyone seen remember the Silent Hill movie? How when she went into the dark realm or whatever, where
Hmm.
she was at Silent Hill and things just like corroded and ate away. That's essentially what I saw.
Yeah, that's kind of how I pictured it, but with a lot less trees. And basically, if there were trees on the material plane, the trees here would match in growth. They just wouldn't have any leaves. They would just be branches. And I remember at one point you were looking around. You made it to like this crossroads with this tree, and all of a sudden you saw something in the distance moving toward you fast, and you realized it wasn't just moving toward you fast, it was tall, very, very tall. It was a giant shadow giant. I can't remember the official name. I think it's like a night dweller or something. Essentially, a being may have, it's a shadow giant, like a giant shadow was coming at you to remove you from the
He,
Shadowfell,
he
because the
was yeah
Shadowfell hates
he
living
was moving.
creatures.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
it
was
hates
definitely
living
moving.
creatures. And you essentially saw a building, and you're like the best bet. You ran into the building, and it was an exact replica of the inn or the tavern that you guys started in, which was called the Unassuming Tavern. Um,
Yes,
that you made it back into there, but there was no people inside. All the chairs and everything were decayed, rotted, or just flipped over, no longer in use. And then you went down into the basement as this creature made it to the tavern and started beating on the tavern, not seemingly able to get in. Seeing no other options, you ran downstairs, and that's where you met the one and only. Would you
I
like to
met
say its name?
well, I approached. I'll set the scene.
Uh
This is
huh.
how it was described to me. As I was walking down the stairs leading to the cellar, where in any regular tavern, and in the normal tavern, the unassuming tavern, there is a set of stone stairs going down into the basement, where it's significantly cooler, where they keep the brewery of their barrels of ale and wines and whatnot, and foodstuffs. And as I approached, there was uh, a dwindling light in the corner, and up against the wall there was two candles with a glyph drawn with chalk-like substance on the floor and the wall, almost like interconnecting. And there was a figure covered in black robes, like cloaked real heavily,
Mm-hmm. I'm
wearing a a a golden bird mask,
Yep.
like
Um,
like gilded. Like I think you described it as like gilded gold with
mhm.
intricate filigree,
So yeah,
but the rest of the body was encased in a black shadow like
robe.
garb.
Yeah, the way I described it, it was like black shadowy robe, beautiful gilded bird mask with like a essentially like a plague doctor mask is how I described it, but it was like uh, more artistic and more noblish, and it ended with a fine point. It was beautiful gold filigree. On half of the gold mask was filled in with black to fill in all the empty spaces, and on the other half it was white, and it had like the gold trim all the way around it. And yeah, the rest of the body work was this black garb with like gold filigree all around the black garb, and two wings outstretched, one blackened and disfigured and kind of like ghastly and ghostly, and an like almost like and then like raven feathers started to appear on it, and then the other wing came out outstretched like pure light, and and it unfurled like a dove's wing.
Yes, yeah, but it was like gold and glittered.
Mm-hmm. And,
Yes, and this figure told me that they were waiting to see if I would come,
yep.
and that if I needed, they would assist me into returning to my friends.
Yep. This being spoke in like forms of power and essentially said, "Hello."
Authority, I think, is
Yeah,
what you
power and
described.
authority. Because it knew was in a position of power over you,
Hmm.
and it was like, "I will help you return to your friends. Only thing I need of you is your willingness to pact with me."
Yeah, and like I said in the previous episode, I was in the mindset like I'm not multi-classing, but then
Mm-hmm.
it was like a do or die situation. The role play and like there was a bit more dialogue. There was intricate individual stories that were role played out with the other members at the table, involving them and
Yeah, you needed to get to
my
them
character.
essentially. Like your character
Yeah,
wanted to get back with his friends, and other than facing the giant shadow giant, there wasn't really an option for you.
exactly. So I Val, my character, reluctantly accepted, but on one condition that he know who he's pacting with. And
Hmm.
before I was shunted
Yep.
across the different planes of
Uh
existence,
huh.
almost, he told me his name was Loki.
Yes. Locky. Locky.
Yes, Loki. Did nothing more, just his name.
Yep. Locky.
And when in my head, I can't remember if we role played it out or if we described it, but in my head, how the pact happened was like it held out its hand in like a give me your hand, like open palm open up with a
Hmm.
like the most gentlest, like give me your hand kind of gesture. And Val reluctantly reached forward, took off his glove and reached forward a little bit. And then when he took his hand, it was in my head how it played out was that these instead of uh darkness or anything like that encompassing like he would be afraid of, it was the most
Beautiful
beautiful
light.
golden light of like veins creeping up my
Hmm.
fingertips, up my wrists, and just like a wave of light going down a tube just up and towards up my arm and over my shoulder and to the center of my chest where it dimmed slowly. And then he finished his incantation and shunted my ass across multiple planes where I
Hmm.
smashed into Lenestra and then Tatty and what's his name? Silver. And we landed in the elemental plane of chaos where our barbarian Topher
Hmm.
was where he's from and his tribe and stuff like that. We landed there. Oh, and I wanted to bring this up because this is the only party that I've ever been a part of where we did this, and I'm so happy we did this. The role play led to it, and it led to such great moments and laughs and like really harrowing moments. Every party has like anyone who's played D&D or any tabletop game knows that when you're playing in a party like scenario, you have each character has a certain role to play, right? Like your role at the table. Any cohesive group does anyway that plays for a good long amount of time. We played this campaign for almost 2 years, and we like everyone had. This is the roles that we had. We had uh Kat, who was our she was like our care she was our what was I say? What she's our
She
caregiver.
was the mom.
She was
She was
she
definitely
was
the mom of the group.
she was the mom of the group, and she like had the magic support um like the and everything. And then we had Linestra and her she was our
Older sister.
she was our older
Definitely
sister.
older sister
Yeah,
vibes.
she was the older sister, but she was also like our healer
Yep.
essentially. Like
One of the main
Tatty helped.
healers, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, she was one of the main healers, and Tat assisted in that healing. And Silver was in and out, but like
He
he
was
was
like
like
the step uncle that you don't really talk to that much. That would
I was gonna
come in.
I was gonna say cousin, twice
Yeah,
removed.
I
But
mean either
anyway,
way works
but yeah, but when he was on there, he was like our distraction. But it
for
didn't matter.
sure. For sure.
And,
Bar distraction, yes.
but then we had our excuse me. But then we had our and then when we got Varici, our paladin sorcerer, shadow sorcerer, and then
Glass
paladin of
cannon.
vengeance.
Yeah,
He
glass
was our
cannon.
glass cannon. Yeah, he was our smite or die. He was his catchphrase he had was "smite makes right,"
Yeah.
and you know what he did? He couldn't take a hit, but he could hit. If he hit you once, you probably on the verge of death.
Yeah, he
Uh,
would I remember bonus action cast a smite like he would upcast a smite to like 5th level, and then he would then as he hits them divine smite for a 4th level. So it would get both hits would basically double the smite damage.
oh yeah, like yeah, it was nasty. He was
Mhm.
our glass cannon, but he was our fun uncle.
Yeah. So
And then
yeah, yeah.
we had T,
We
who
don't have
was
to talk about tea yet. Let's do Topher.
no,
Let's do
well,
Topher.
I will hold on. But then we had T.
Mhm.
I want everyone to play, and he was like your
Younger
sibling.
brother. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
like
your younger
younger
brother.
brother that you have to take care of.
Yeah, your younger brother you had to take care of. And then you had me, Val, who was like the
Older brother.
older. He was like he was like the older brother who was always afraid that he didn't have his shit together,
Mm-hmm.
but like he did even though he was kind of an ass, he did good, for good sake, but he was still an ass.
Yeah,
Uh
I remember we talked about it. He was like the way you played him and the way it came about. It was like he every decision he ever made at certain points, he felt like it was just wrong and terrible decisions, which is also why Loki was such an important role for him because it really brought him out of like that that dark cocoon that he shadowed himself in.
yeah,
Because he
yeah,
felt hopeless like a lot of the time. He was like, I
yeah,
can't do anything right.
yeah, but my character felt like there was no hope and that he was helpless and hopeless, and the only best he could do
Was die.
was was die taking out monsters. That
Yep.
was it. He thought himself a monster, but he thought that he before he goes, he can at least take a few of them with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he always had a strong sense of like this is wrong
Yep.
and this is right kind of ordeal. Very, but he was, yeah. And then, but then we had our barbarian Topher,
Dad.
the half orc dad, but he was like the anyone who's ever knows RPGs knows that like barbarian classes or intelligence are not your main stat.
Throwing
And
that out the window.
he played into that beautifully. But what made the group cohesive and work, and it was so much fun to role play, and that led to great moments, is that we as a collective decided to make him the leader
Yep.
of the Unnaturals, the spokesperson.
Yep.
So like
He was the
there was a
captain, he was the leader, he was the
yeah,
face.
yeah. So and let me tell you guys, it I'm not saying it was the smartest move. I'm saying that it was the most fun.
Yeah, they essentially, to break it down into like party archetypes, Tat was the witch essentially. She had so many spells because later on in the game, her fun little campaign stuff happened. Tat ended up losing her warlock patron. He died, like fully died, was killed by a villain. From Val,
Yes.
and she lost her warlock abilities and developed her sorcerer capabilities, which was Storm Soul, sorcerer, or Storm Sorcery. And she stayed at Bard, College of Spirits, and she had a ton of spells by the end of the game. And then you had Verici, that was like the pure glass cannon, one shot, I will take them all out or they're gonna kill me. Val, you had the sort of like offensive like debuffer essentially at a certain degree. Like you dealt heavy damage. You most
I
definitely
I
did.
I was a I decided that which made after I read my
Your
uh,
abilities, your fifth time reading them through.
the better one will tell you like my philosophy in RPGs and Dungeons and Dragons is like I'll do stuff and read my abilities later. And I did, but once I read and like got used to the different abilities from the Blood Hunter class and the Warlock Celestial class, once I read how cohesive the abilities work,
Yeah,
and
they're
we
made for each
tinkered
other.
yeah, we tinkered with them a little bit, but I could deal a significant amount of damage, but my main role was, I could deal damage. I was one of the
You
tanks.
were the target practice.
I was one of the tanks with the barbarian, but also I had the ability to debuff with my blood
Mm-hmm.
curses.
Yeah.
So, like, my role was get in front of the bad guy with the barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
take the hits, dish out some hits, also cover the party if needed as like a mid defense,
Yep.
and debuff the enemy. I was a poor man's paladin, so I didn't have a divine smite, but I had an eldridge smite,
Yep.
which I took and amplified the crap out of that, and I could hit you with a lot of damage,
Yeah, he ended
but
up
not.
getting dual wielder, and you were able to dual wield your swords.
That's right. We my character after finding out that he he was responsible for his brother's death.
Yep.
He was given a glimmer of hope, and I don't remember from who or what that there was the monster that was inside of my character
Oh,
Val.
I can tell you.
Yeah, was the result of a older and grander scheme
Yep.
of how the in our world how the blood hunters came to be, and he was uh there was three original blood hunters that
Mm-hmm.
in an old war, ancient war, they turned to dark magics with a pact with a very powerful entity,
Yeah. The being of corruption
the-
herself.
being a corruption herself, for the means to fight evil
Mm-hmm.
with evil. So the first blood hunters were created by in fact by three were transformed. One could slay the undead,
Uh-huh.
which was the
The
first
Ghost
ghost
Slayer.
slayer. The other was the first profane soul.
Mm-hmm. Which was her
Which,
first pact maker with the
yeah,
corruption and chaos.
yeah, and then the first blood hunter Lycan, not the first Lycan, just the first blood hunter Lycan. The
Specifically, the
one that,
first Blood Hunter Lycan. So it was still
yeah,
enhanced.
yeah, it wasn't Hans. It was the first Lycan to like really have a grasp and full reign of the terrifying power
Yep.
of transforming
Yep.
into such a beast. But it was like they were all slightly augmented and demonic almost. And So the first Lycan blood hunter was imprisoned in me because of a botched ritual at Val's birth when him and his brother, his twin brother Cal, were born.
Mm-hmm.
They were born. Their parents, who died, they thought for whatever disease at birth, they were actually ritually murdered because they were
Yep.
blood hunters,
Mm-hmm.
and blood hunters are forbidden in the order to procreate
Yep.
because they don't genetically spread your curse and make for stronger uh things online. It's not to say it doesn't happen, but it's frowned upon and it's like very much a no.
Yeah.
But they eloped. They tried to get away, but they were tricked by a servant of somebody. And the ritual to bring back this and the first like and to resurrect him through one of us
Yep.
went slightly awry.
Yep.
And when we were born, Cal was born with all the physical and best attributes. Like he was physically fit, he was strong, he was durable, he was, just like he was the peak human.
Yeah, he essentially
And
he was essentially a human
he
variant that started with
yeah,
feats.
yeah. He essentially got all the best bits
Mm-hmm.
of the curse, while I was born dead. I was a stillborn,
Yep.
and
And
I was resurrected during that ritual,
mm-hmm.
and this entity was placed inside of Val, bringing me back to life, but also and that's what came out of Val and killed his brother when
Yep.
I came of age. And it wants out.
Yeah.
And this entity goes by the name. It went by its mortal name, almost to really confuse Val, to give like like, hey,
I'm a
I used to be
person.
just like
I'm a
you.
person
Yeah.
like you. You don't want to kill me.
Yeah. And he went by his mortal name, Jameson.
Yep. Jameson.
And Jameson wanted back into the world.
Yep.
And after figuring out that Val, now with the power of Loki, is keeping him at bay, he found an alternative way to come back because his I want to say underlings or something
Yeah.
found a way to resurrect Cal.
It was more along the lines of this is information you guys never really delved into because like by that point you guys were trying to find Cal. Uh, essentially, while they were locked away in Barovia and dealing with Curse of Strahd, Val died and saw his brother's soul at the precipice where like souls move on and everything, but he saw his brother's soul being dragged away from him because the original goal was to have his brother's soul be reborn, not necessarily reborn, but be a part of Val, be like a spiritual soul that would be merged with his, so they would always be together. He wasn't meant to be resurrected, but at the time they were trying to do that, out of Barovia, where his brother lay to rest, there was a resurrection going on, and Cal's soul was resurrected using some ancient arcane methods that essentially forces a soul back into its body, its original body. And
Hmm.
he was dragged out of the sigil, the spell they were casting. And Val saw his own brother again ripped from his arms uh, and forced away.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty fun. On top of that, they obviously when they eventually do get around to defeating Strahd and all this stuff, they also they may or may not do something else. They find out in Curse of Strahd. Shall I tell them? Shall I tell them what you did? That you try to
Mm.
that you try to blame on Tat.
Well, hold on. All right. Well, before we get there, let's get some ground things out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, First of all, the better one here, the best one, whichever. uh decided to traumatize each one of us with some sort of anxiety, fear driven thing that he
Oh,
learned about us in real life, like how I have a deep fear of deep water,
I did not know this beforehand.
and so he decided to very meticulously describe in very very intricate detail the ways in which Val was drowning to this cursed lake
Uh-huh.
that he found himself in trying to save somebody, and it almost threw me into hysterics. There's that little nugget right there. There's also
You just
Val.
rolled really bad at the lake too, and it
Yeah.
was even funnier.
Well, and then on top of that, Val figured out that his celestial uh Maki is the newborn god of hope,
Yes.
and that he was the blade that I started with, which was a moon touched
Scimitar.
longsword.
Yeah, longsword.
Was the moon touched longsword that which was given to Val by a woman when he was at the blood hunter training uh camp, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Val
And
found love.
and uh he was tasked with finding the sun sword, the sun blade, and we found the sunblade in a crypt.
Mm-hmm.
And when he found it, uh, Val died,
Yeah,
like
instantly.
just straight died. And then was brought back, but Jameson was no longer in his body, and the
Mm-hmm.
sun sword and the moon touched blade merged together to become the blade of hope.
Yep. The blade
And
of hope.
so and Val, like, and thanks to the better one, he like I was like challenging the better one when it comes to like DMing and like uh classes or DMs that, like, they'll homebrew some stuff. I always like to challenge him with stuff. And he made a blood hunter uh armor. He made an amulet. And then me and him both collabed, and we made a sword specifically for blood hunters
Mm-hmm.
called Blood Razor.
Yep.
Which if anyone who's ever played a blood hunter knows anything about the class or anything like that, it's called Hemocraft, and you essentially can expend a Hemocraft charge to amplify to do your curses. Well, you only have a finite amount of them until you take a short or long rest. And I was like, man, that'd be really cool if, like, you could do more of that. And so, like, we came with a really clever way. He came with a really clever way that whenever I bleed and you activate my crimson right on my blade, that the blood trickles down and goes into this little ball thing at the end of it, at the pommel, which fills with the blood, and it like saves a portion of it each time, charges it up to where eventually you get one free like activation of your blood curse by using it, which was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then
And then Val came back after he died, forging the new blade. But he came back different. He felt like he failed because he was talking with Loki, and he was like, "So what am I now? A revenant?" And he started losing his humanity because Val believed he was a revenant. Like he believed that he didn't deserve life, that he was dead, and he knew after this mission he would die. But Loki said, "Have hope and believe, and I never said you were a revenant." And it was with those words and like obviously a
in a
show
crucial nat 20
and a
roll,
crucial nat 20 roll that Val was like, I don't want to be dead. And he started feeling again. He started having his human emotions again. He started breathing. He felt hungry. He felt cold. He felt warm. So, all those terrible sensations that we get as being alive, he felt them again. And Loki said, "See, I never said you were dead. You just forced yourself to believe something you didn't, that never came true. You have more power than you choose to believe."
Yeah, and thus Val took up the mantle of being a beacon of hope
Yeah.
for those who are lost.
Yeah, Loki was definitely like his rock for a while. Like his other than like his friendships with like his party mates, Loki was definitely like a constant like if you need me, call me essentially. Like I am here. I am always around you. I will always hear you. I am your celestial. Because mind you, still haven't told them what warlock subclass you went, and that was the celestial warlock is what you went
Yeah,
into,
yeah.
which gave
Which was
you a lot of cleric spells, so like a lot more healing action that you had access to, celestial light, the bonus action healing stuff, which was really
oh yeah.
fun.
We also got and then when we now to get to the point, we
Oh yeah, let's get to the point. So, let me take it from here cuz I can explain it so good. Um
I'll
these
try to defend myself.
these people, we'll call them. These party members, they call themselves. They were discovering things about Strahd, and we had already discussed that they wanted to take Curse of Strahd further. Like they wanted to keep playing these characters after Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd was going to end once they reached level 10 to 11. That's normally like the end point of Curse of Strahd. Fair enough. They were like around like level 8ish when all this stuff was happening, and like it was getting
Yeah,
to the end
yeah,
game. It was getting to
yeah.
the end game of Curse of Strahd.
I
Um,
think we did. I think we did level up to level 11 when
you
Strahd.
killed you got to level 11 when you killed Strahd, yes.
Yeah,
But essentially you guys essentially were finding out information. You found out that Strahd was a shadow sorcerer and he was being taught magic by a teacher, and this teacher also taught him this vampiric curse. um and all that was ever referred to was the Cold Raven. The Cold Raven, the teacher, the Cold Raven. The Cold Raven is here. The Cold Raven is everywhere. Anytime someone would get like psychic premonitions or anything, they would just get the words Cold Raven.
Oh, and I
Tat.
have to. I
Yeah.
cannot stress enough. You were a fucking genius with that. I just want you to know, like,
Mm-hmm.
it blew the table away
Oh, I
when
know it did. I know it did. So the Cold Raven kept happening over and over and over. Tat, their Calistar, who she's severed from dreams, so she can't dream. But she has like her second spirit, and the way me and Tat roleplayed it is like her second spirit would kind of like talk to her, give her advice. She named it Gladys and stuff like that. And her second spirit and her would occasionally hear the voices of this other being, and it would talk to her, and it would be like, yeah, I'm if and essentially like sort of give her like not really quests but more like requests, like if you happen to come across this key or this stuff or this lock, please unlock it. I don't want to be trapped here anymore, please. Like sort of like pleading out to her. And it was also having other people do that. So behind the scenes, whenever Silver didn't show up, canonically Silver was unlocking locks for the Cold Raven. There were
yeah,
13 locks, and Silver unlocked 11 of them. You guys unlocked 2 of them. Um,
one was by accident. One was by accident.
one of them was in the hole where you found the Sunblade. There was a lock, and it was unlocked, and the part of the Sunblade that you needed to complete the blade revealed itself after it was unlocked. It was almost as
Hmm.
if like this was like this being's way of like making sure like, okay, if anyone wants to get out of here and they need this weapon, they're gonna have to unlock this lock. It was like a guarantee. So that gets unlocked, right? They also
Yes.
find out that these keys themselves are magical. When used in any door or any lock, it doesn't matter magical or non-magical, it automatically unlocks the door, and it also allows the door to be linked to a plane shift spell, and it's essentially walking to another plane. Anytime they try to do it though within Curse of Strahd, while Strahd was in control and this being was locked up, it would only teleport them to other places within Strahd. They didn't really do that much, so not really much happened there. But that's how they found out it was magical. Beyond
Yes.
that, they eventually find this place called the Amber Temple. They slowly go through it and they begin to realize that their magic isn't really effective here. Like it's draining them. They're not sure why. The amber seems to be absorbing their magic and their spellcraft. Anytime they cast a spell, it's like a level lower than what they cast. If it's a level 1 spell, it's just drained immediately. That
Yeah,
sort of
and
situation.
we figured out that the one thing, only certain things weren't affected, like
Their divine vestige magic items. They were unaffected by the magical drain of the Ember Temple. Any non-artifact level item was
oh,
affected.
and curses, blood curses.
Blood curses weren't affected because it's hard.
They're not leveled
They're
spells,
not
really.
leveled spells, but they're affected by anti-magic field, and I was like, let's just we're not gonna delve too deep into that. But that's kind of how like I did it. I was like, curses are fine because they're like, if you have to canonically make them equal to a leveled spell, it's like third level bestow curse. That's how I was ruling
Well,
it. So that's why it
yeah,
worked. And it
I think how
only
we I think how we did it was like, if I were to try to curse something, use my my hero craft, my blood mancy. If I did try to use it, like, they each one had like a saving throw. The creatures I was doing
oh
it to
yeah, they
had
had
like a
advantage on their
plus.
saving throws
Yeah,
against you. All of
it was
them.
either yeah, it was either advantage or like they would get like a plus one or two or something like that.
No, yeah, it was advantage, and then your curses, regardless if it failed or passed,
I
it,
had to
it
amplify them, I know
you
that.
had to amplify them, and regardless if they pass or fail, your curse duration was halved. But they still took effect. But yeah, that happened. They made it through the Amber Temple. They fought clones of themselves that Strahd had made from them, which was really fun. Essentially, they
Yeah.
fought their own character sheets, which was a lot of fun.
Oh, that was rough, son.
Yeah.
Because like we had like Verici or Glass Cannon Paladin, like he, it was who hit who first is gonna die.
So that happened. They eventually won, barely. And they make it down to the basement of the Ember Temple, and they see why this temple has like magical draining properties. It is filled to the brim with spell scrolls and spell books filled with every spell in the player handbook, which just that alone is 490 something spells. So every single spell is in there, and they're looking around. Val activates his cool ability that his sword gives him. It's because canonically Val's an investigator, so of course I made his blade translucent, and it's like like a spyglass. Of course I
Yeah,
did, like a
yeah,
detective's glass, and
it was pretty good.
he holds it up to his eyes, and it gives him true sight while he's looking through the blade. Val sees this book that was hidden within like the ninth level like shelves, ninth level spellbook shelves. And mind you, they had access to the wish spell. They just chose not to take it. Um,
Yeah,
they had access to all these spells and spell scrolls, but Val sees that book that's invisible. Well, Val starts to hear whisperings. And the reason why this is important is because before they entered the Ember Temple, Val had spoken to the Cold Raven, and there was some information, or not information, there was a promise given. The essentially Val needed guarantees that he would get his brother back. Guarantees. And Loki, as powerful as he was like, I can't promise that. I can't. I just can't. And so
yeah,
Val was like, it was teetering right there. And then the Cold Raven kind of like swooped in and kind of took him under his wing and said, "Hey, you get me out, I'll do whatever you need to save your brother. I will
yeah,
use
yeah,
all of my power." And mind you, at this point, they had been finding out like the Cold Raven was obviously like this very powerful teacher that had been teaching Strahd all this information. They had all this other info that the Cold Raven was a very powerful wizard in his own right. And he was locked within Barovia, and the Cold Raven's power seemed to be what was charging and allowing Strahd to manipulate Barovia as a demiplane. So essentially, the dark powers that Strahd made a pact with in my world was the Cold Raven. The Cold
yes,
Raven,
and this book
This book made
kept
of
on
flesh.
hurting
Yeah.
me and the barbarian. We were the ones that
Oh,
spotted it. We were
this
like,
is
"We're not letting
why.
this go."
Yeah, this is why I can't give you in good conscience an out for this because so they find the book, they open the book, they
So
begin
here,
to read the
I
book.
I'm gonna take over from here.
Okay.
Alright, now what happened was is that we were walking through this, like, library thing in the temple part, and this weird black book started, like, off the shelf,
Fleshy
started
book.
whispering. Fleshy book started whispering, and I noticed it, and my character picked it up and was like, "Ooh, what is this?" And whenever I tried to open it and read it, it did. I had to roll, and I didn't make the wisdom save, and I
Mhm.
took a lot of psychic damage and
Every
necrotic damage.
single time.
Yeah, and then the barbarian came over and was like, "No, no, no, this seems important." And Tat, she was like, "No, wasn't there." I
Tat,
think.
Tat and Lanestra had literally walked out of the room and were checking other things out
Yeah. And so
while
they
you
left
guys were
us
doing
un
this.
and it's their fault because they left us unsupervised, and we just kept essentially think of a caveman with a stick, and we just kept bashing our faces with the stick
I
to see if
think
it would break.
in all, you guys took about 25 points of psychic damage total, between the two of you before
No, no,
finally.
no, it was way more than that.
Was it? Oh,
Mm,
was it? Oh, dang!
yeah,
I don't
it
remember
took
all the
it took
psychic damage. I'm gonna be real with you. I just
it
remember
it
what happened afterwards.
it took me down to half.
So essentially, they got down to half hit points, and then the book like sort of flares open as they like put it back down, and Val hears in his head, "You want that one chance." And Val turns to the book, and the book is open on the floor, and there's a keyhole.
And Topher had the
The key.
magical key thing. And we put the key in and unlocked it and wrote
They
the lock.
they hear the 13th lock shatter. It sounds like 1,000 locks hit the ground at the same time. A door opens and crushes itself against the wall, like someone just slamming open a door against a cobblestone wall. And then they hear stepping, and then
And
silence.
what steps forth is
Mhm. What
a
step forward is this sh-
mummified
this
looking.
hold. The way I described it was he was wrapped in cloth. Only part of his face could be seen with the light, and he did not have an arm on one side, and one of his eyes were missing. They could see his other one was sickly and green, and he looked mummified and decrepit. And he says, "Thank you for releasing me. I am the Cold Raven. How may
And
I grant you all the request?" He turns to Val and says, "I already have yours. What are the rest of your requests?"
that's where we're gonna leave it off until episode 3, a little cliffhanger for you
Mm-hmm.
guys. Because it's running a little bit long, but we are wanting to just, continue the story with episode 3, which will drop very soon. Probably, what do you think, in the end of next week?
Dude,
Maybe
we
after.
just for the amount of people that subscribed and everything, I'm thinking about just doing it tomorrow night.
Well,
In all
well,
honesty,
I'm totally with you. I'm totally with you. We'll see where that goes. We'll keep you
yeah.
guys notified. But we honestly we cannot thank all of you enough for the love and support and uh with the channel and everything. Like it truly is going to be, it's life changing. It's helping us improve dramatically. It's given us the right amount of motivation to, push through. We can do this. We can actually make this into something. And we know that we're on the cusp of something really, really amazing. And with your guys' help and support, like we can't thank you guys enough. And just, we're going to continue to grow this until it reaches that point. We have a lot of stretch goals. If we can make it to uh, 1,200 subscribers, we're probably gonna we have some ideas floating around. What we're gonna do is like a stretch goal for that. Anything from like hosting a D&D game for subscribers and people to join in on the chat, and or have a live chat, just talking discussion like this, and have and interact with the community as best we can, and answer any questions anyone has. So feel like we'll make sure we get that out if that's what we're going to do. We have a bunch of things in the works. Like we are truly truly thankful for all of you guys. Really, we can't thank you enough.
Like, yes, like the worst one is saying, in all honesty, none of this would be possible. Like, the amount of subscribers, views, everything we got was amazing, and I can't thank you all enough. But yeah, we don't. To be fair, let's be honest now. We didn't expect this many people, and we don't have any stretch goals prepared. Like we
Yeah.
and like all of this came at once, and we're like, okay, wow.
Yeah,
Um,
we really need to put our heads together and think of something.
but yeah, we do hope you guys enjoyed, and we are so happy to continue to keep going and keep doing this more. Like that is something we are proud to keep doing. And like we said, the next time we record a Tavern Talk episode 3, it's going to be all about the Cold Raven and the grand reveal.
Exactly. And feel free like, subscribe, like, talk to your friends, get people into it, show some support. We also have a Patreon. We're actually going to work on our Patreon and put up some Patreon exclusives for tiers. Anything from
Maybe episode 3 might
merch.
be on there.
Yeah, you'll be able to see VODs before
Maybe
anyone
it won't.
else. We're gonna have tiers on there for merch. Wink, wink, possibly.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, that's also in the works. Live D&D sessions. Like, we're available if you're, for people to, book either one of us or both of us to be a part of a D&D one shot or anything like that. It's absolutely, we're totally down for that, to join in on like multiplayer games and stuff like that, to host some. We're totally open, and we're going to
Yeah,
have a tier list developed and put up on there so that you can see even just $1 will go a long way with helping us in any capacity.
$1 gets us dice or stickers.
Exactly. And and to all our dice goblins out there, I know and feel your pain and want for more dice.
But anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for continue to watch.
Hit
And
that notification bell.
and please let us know if you want anything more. And obviously, we're gonna be keep streaming more and more games because gaming is fun and gaming is life, and that's all we're gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. We're just a couple of nerds enjoying nerdom.
Yep. All right, worst one. Let's get out of here.
All right, you guys have